Well, canola producers are 1 week closer to harvest, and we have Josh Bushong to talk about what producers should be looking for in the fields right now.
Well, right now we really need to get out and keep scouting, make sure we're looking for insects that might be causing damage to the crop. So far this spring, our main issues have been the aphids, both the green peach and the cabbage aphids, and most of the damage is when they're feeding on these racemes, and they're kind of have a piercing, sucking mouth part, and they just kind of draw that plant down. And so that's directly related to the yield, obviously. So when we're scouting the fields, we kind of use a threshold for aphids is if 15% of the racemes are infested, that's the threshold we need to spray at. A lot of times with aphids, they might be worse on the field margin. They might be in more or less hot spots in different parts of the field. So you have to kind of get an idea of what the populations look like for that field and determine if you need to spray. Obviously, we don't want to spray too early and get another infestation and have to spray twice. We don't want to spray too late because obviously that's going to hurt our yield. But trying to figure out when to spray and try to get by with just one spring application of an insecticide is very critical.
Okay, and right now, obviously the plants are going to start maturing in different ways. What are we looking at as far as pod growth right now?
Right now, for this growing season, this is the longest I've seen canola during the blooming stage. Usually we just flower for 2 to 3 weeks. This year we have some fields that's been flowering for almost 6 weeks now.
Wow.
Mostly goes back to those freeze events we had through April and the last week of March. So other than those freezes, we had kind of mild temperatures and the plant just kept on putting on new flowers. With some of those freezes, we lost some flowers because those flowers became sterile with the freezes. And so the plant knows it lost pods, so it's trying to compensate and put on new flowers and buds and pods. So we've seen, like I said, a tremendous amount of period of it flowering, which should help a lot with the yield loss.
Okay, now normal season, people should start thinking about how they're going to harvest it after swathing or whatever their maneuver, but what should producers be thinking about that right now? I mean, this 2013's been a less than typical year.
It's been one for the record books, you can say, but like I said, with the continuation of the flowering, we might see some differences in maturity across the field. So you really need to get out and scout, especially as we get closer to when we need to swath and determine when to swath. And obviously, sometimes that's more of an art than a science, trying to figure out when's the best window to swath it. And obviously, like I said, we have kind of a window in order to get it swathed, kind of a 40 to 60% seed color change. Okay. And with the plant, typically the pods that are lower down on the raceme, they're the oldest. They're the first ones to flower. So they should be changing colors. We should have some speckling or color change in the middle. And the top pods, those seeds will probably still be kind of a green color, but they're firm enough where you can barely roll them between your finger and your thumb. You don't want to really try to squeeze them, but enough pressure to roll them. And if they're starting to firm up, it won't be long before they start changing colors. So that's kind of when we need to swath. And like I said, with this year, with those freeze events, we might have some difference in maturity across the field, or even on that plant. We might have basically 2 different crops we're going after, especially if some guys had some minor hail damage where the plant tried to regrow. Obviously, we had that first crop before the hailstorm, and then after the hailstorm, it's going to take a while for that plant to put on those new pods, so there's going to be that difference in maturity. So trying to scout your field, determine which crop you're after, when to swath, and obviously with that difference in maturity, trying to prepare the crop for harvest using the swather is probably the best option, instead of trying to wait till it all ripens to get out there with the direct combine or direct harvesting with the combine. So swathing is probably going to be the best option this year.
Well, thank you, Josh. Josh Bushong, canola specialist here at Oklahoma State University.